Welcome to hashtag 52 Needs. And this week we are focusing on presence. And I am so delighted to have with me, straight from Abu Dhabi, Yousuf Al Awadi, who has spent more than 2 decades of self-exploration and learning from some of the world's best teachers in the fields of spirituality, sexuality, embodiment, and meditation. Going from engineering to entrepreneurship to being a spiritual and embodiment coach, Yousuf connects both conscious and unconscious minds through breathwork and body movement with the intention of facilitating more alignment between mind, body, and spirit. Hi, Yousuf. Welcome.
Hello, Angela.
Okay, so presence at work. Is that actually something we can do? Because we're always busy, right?
Yes. However, that's a state of flow. And a state of flow is a state, in my understanding, again, is something that requires presence and concentration at something that you're continuously doing over and over for many years, and you're good in it, that it becomes almost in between a state of conscious and unconscious. So you're really in the flow internally, externally, consciously, unconsciously. You're liquid and you're really engaged with whatever is happening around you.
Okay.
So if that is the kind of busy anyone else, bless them. That's joy.
So this is the expert, right? Somebody who has done their 10,000 hours and they get into that state of presence. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, and they love what they do. They don't do it only because it's their way of earning a living.
Okay. So, but how can somebody be present who hasn't done that? I mean, can somebody be present who doesn't like their job?
Yes, of course. Who doesn't like their job? I'm not sure. Again, from my experience, if you don't like your job and it's difficult for you to stay present or you're yawning a lot, it's just like watching a boring movie or listening to a piece of music that you don't enjoy or tasting a food that your body doesn't enjoy. You can't lie about that. So your presence actually tells you the truth of what your purpose is or isn't.
Okay.
That's one of the ways that I would say people can gauge their awareness and be present with what they do in life and have a guide to direct them to what's really meaningful to them and what's their purpose in this life.
Okay, so basically, if I'm at work and I'm constantly talking to myself about stuff, what I like, my self-talk might be, I don't really like my work, or I daydream about things, or my focus is somewhere completely different, whatever it might be, but that stops me from being present. I should examine whether I really want to be there.
That's one of the things, or maybe you haven't practiced being present generally as well through practices of breathing and meditation. So you don't jump into conclusions that it's your work.
I'm just thinking here.
Yeah. Just first check if you have the practice of being present in other areas of your life.
Right. Good
point. So if you know you're a solid person in terms of presence when you dance, as you said, or when you're cooking, and those are areas that would be aligned with your values, or when you're connecting with your beloved ones, or you're doing an interview, then it means that something's wrong with your work, actually, that is not aligned with your purpose, your value, or so on.
Okay. All right. Okay. But work is about being busy, right? I mean, that's one of the things that I hear all the time. It's like, I'm so busy right now. And I'm like, you were busy last time I talked to you. So can you be busy and being really present? Probably, as you said, if it's connected to purpose. But a lot of the activities that we do at work are connected to the future, right? It's about earning money, doing something that will pay off sometime in the future at some point. So is that compatible? Can you be present but while focusing on the future?
The presence has so many different interlinked elements that connect the conscious with the unconscious mind, presence with the past and the future. So it's a very complex question. And I would say, maybe I would share an example with a book that I was reading or listening to lately called Breathe. It's about an MMA fighter from the Gracie family. And he was sharing how him entering into a state of an unconscious fight where he totally trusted his body to engage in a fight with something which is something that requires a lot of attention. And it is dangerous as well. And it is including elements of winning and losing, gaining money or losing money, or fame and reputation. So being unconsciously trusting your body after reaching, as you said, the level of mastery and exceeding it, and trusting your body to be present with itself and trusting it to lead while you're aware of what's happening, and you can interfere with that. That's many layers of mastery put together.
Okay.
So presence can have so many different layers as you practice your consciousness and presence in anything that you do. The more you practice, the more you expand your presence and consciousness in that aspect of your life, whether if it's gymming or cooking or martial arts or working. So if you have that element with your work and your career, then you are blessed.
Okay. I'm still stuck on the busy.
Okay.
Because I think, again, busy is such a word that we throw around. And you know that one of my favorite words is productivity.
Absolutely.
So I talk about emotional productivity, but I can think you can still, you can be productive instead of busy. And that means that if I'm present to the fact that I may become unproductive, then I can stop myself. And again, for me, the ability to stop so that I can actually recharge my creativity or recharge my presence and my creativity through that by not doing something just because I need to sit at my desk because that's the time I've allocated. But becoming present to my unproductivity or to my irritability or my boredom or whatever it might be, and then saying, okay, I'm going to get present with myself by going for a walk or whatever it might be. Again, dancing, cooking, working from home, those are all options.
Yes.
That would be something I think would be a really useful thing to teach people.
Absolutely. I just came from a 10-day silent retreat a while ago, and what they were encouraging people to do is meditate twice a day, 1 hour each time. And of course, they discussed the fact that many people would consider that a lot of time, considering they have a busy schedule in their work and career. So they said what happens is that the more you are in a meditative state over the years, those 2 hours will expand your mindfulness and meditative state to get more work done in shorter period of time and increase your productivity, as you discussed, because you're more present with what you're doing.
Yeah. And with people.
However, the misconception is that you can achieve that in a 10-day silent retreat and then you come and voila. It takes a decade. I would say give at least yourself a decade of gradual increments in your state of meditation and presence at work. If you can achieve 1% each day, that's a leap. I would consider 1% a day a leap. And you can get that concept as well from books such as Atomic Habits, where small incremental progresses make big differences over a decade.
Micro changes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah.
So focus on that.
Okay. So let me just change topics altogether, because I mean, the one thing that I hear, in leadership development, they talk a lot about executive presence. And that is about, charisma and showing up and being the leader. And, so there's Obama, they're leaders who have a very strong presence, like Obama is, has a very strong presence. And you talked in the other interview that we've just done. So if you want to know more about how to actually become more present, watch the other interview. So there are ways of really, there are people who are really present. And that has massive impact on leadership and on creating the results at work, right?
Yes. The example that you gave about Obama, I would link it to something that is extremely important to the state of presence, which I did not mention in the previous interview, which is being authentic with yourself in the moment and with your purpose, knowing truly what is meaningful in terms of value to you as a human being and accomplishing in your life, and how being present in the present moment is so important to achieving that. And with that kind of state of consciousness and direction and focus, you're more present in your words and actions and thoughts, and people feel that emanation of frequency because all of your particles are out there. You're so clear of what you're projecting and what you're projecting in your words and in your energy, in your thoughts, that people call it charismatic or executive presence or whatever other terms they give it. So it's about being so authentic and so focused internally in your energy and so clear about how important this is to you and how meaningful it is.
But we're so stingy with it, you know, especially at work. I mean, I do this, I find this a lot with people, you know, again, people don't stop working on the computer when somebody comes in, you know, because they feel that they can multitask and they can just do, you know, I can type and listen at the same time, but that's not being present. And that's not, I mean, I always like that expression, you know, like the presence is a present, or is, you know, being present is a present because it is a, you know, oh God, what is it? It's a present.
It's a present. It's a gift.
It's a gift. Thank you.
Because it's a gift.
Yes. And we're stingy with it. We don't want to give it out.
It's about not letting go of what you have at your hands at the expense of being present with the other person that is in your space in that moment.
Now, why?
Because we're so attached to our thoughts that we need to get so many things done and all of them are important. And we have internal not working or not supportive belief systems that sabotages our behaviors and our human connection, where in fact the most valuable and meaningful thing that most humans can experience in their lifetime, and maybe they remember at their deathbed, is how a cat was purring on their lap when they were feeling love, or a dog was barking, or they hugged their beloved ones, or a meaningful conversation when someone said, I love you and I care about you, or they said it to someone. So it's ignorance of the importance of what's truly meaningful, which is the present moment and connection.
I was just thinking, I mean, like, maybe we're so stingy because we grew up with parents who might have been equally stingy. Because I mean, I know that, and I'm saying this with all love and compassion for my father, but he was always busy. He was always working. And he was always doing something where the children were meant to be seen but not heard. And, you know, that we get into this habit of doing this with children. And so then that when we grow up, we do the same thing again. And that so that we feel this sense of resentment. Why should I give you my attention? I never got that. Why should I be present with you when, you know, it's such a precious commodity? And I know that with children, and this is, you know, like this should really be in the other chat, they don't care. I mean, if you are there for 5 minutes and you're totally present with them, that means more to them than half an hour of, I'm listening, while working or doing something else.
Absolutely.
And I think the same applies to adults, you know?
Yes, which are a little bit like children in terms of craving attention and presence, as you discussed, because we lack it so much. Majority of people lack it so much in their daily lives. So it's so meaningful that a moment where a friend or a colleague or a stranger stops to give you completely their presence. And that moment becomes the most meaningful and precious part of your day. However, as you said, the impact of parents or society as a whole, or the working environment, or get this done and get that done, that rather than gauging what's meaningful to you as a human being, the impacts our consciousness day to day. And yes, we can't blame people for our state of presence. What we can do is take charge of what we have and practice it and cultivate it, so we invite more presence in other people.
Yeah. Because I mean, there's still, I mean, again, busyness and you know, like constant productivity is what we get brownie points for, you know. And but when we say, you know, like I need to come get present with myself so I can be more productive, it's almost like you can't do this, you know, shouldn't you be able to do this? And it's like, no, actually, I think it's and that's my personal experience as well as that of clients where I said, just stop and get present with yourself. You're going to be more productive later. You're going to be more creative. You're going to be more compassionate with other people and have more empathy for yourself as well as other people. And it's hard because we're such, you know, like we're human beings, not human doings. And we keep forgetting that.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're in a constant sleepwalking state because you've been habitually taught to walk or behave or think in certain ways by society or global consciousness, to pull yourself out of that, elements of meditation and self-exploration and having good spiritual teachers help to identify what is really meaningful to you and to walk your own path and be authentic with that. And then when you have that and engage with the world from that space, you become more charismatic, as you said. But it is extremely challenging for me, even on daily basis, when I speak to people and I see how they are in their heads. And I am sometimes, a lot of times in my own head as well, but I'm aware of it as soon as I'm out of it. Okay, I'm out of my head. What can I do right this moment that would put me back? Do I choose that? Do I have the time and space that allows me that? So I think it's good to have practices and to have certain techniques that put you back in the state of presence if you are working, or to take a short break, stand up, breathe, move, drink water, whatever helps you cuddle with your, I don't know, caress your cat or play with your dog.
If you're working from home, I was going to say, please don't cuddle your secretary or your colleague, you know, or anybody, you know, like not another person necessarily. Let's just keep it clean here.
Yes, but you can have a conversation with a colleague for a few minutes and tell them that you need to just diffuse for a few minutes and then you go back to your work. So yes. However, as I have noticed, majority of people do jobs they don't love because it's a necessity. They try to fulfill needs of survival needs, mainly of acquiring more money, because they have to fulfill other needs that are unconscious, that are projected to them onto their consciousness by society. So it's very deep. And meditation and presence would heal a lot of challenges, present challenges in the world.
Yeah. No, as I was talking about the cuddling, you know, like, again, we do a lot of things to get away from not feeling, you know, like when we get overwhelmed at work, you know, we'll go, instead of getting present with what's going on, and we talk about judgment and the other chat a lot. So instead of getting present with that, people go and get a coffee or a muffin, or, you know, or they play a game on the computer, or they check their social media, because that's, you know, social media presence is equally important, you know, all of that. And that's not being present. That's escaping presence. So it's like we're inviting people to really step into that not judgmental space of, okay, this is not working right now. Okay, what can I do to bring myself back?
Absolutely. I've noticed, and I would call it leaking your attention, or leaking consciousness. As well, people do it physically when they're leaking energy through drinking or smoking or chatting away in a non-meaningful conversation during working hours. So leaking consciousness and attention is one way of escaping, as you said.
Yeah. Okay. So the idea is to take, not breaks, that's not a right word, but take breaths, moments of presence, and then start connecting those moments until it gets easier, because it can be quite demanding when you do it initially. Yes. And it, as you said, breathing is a beautiful way to reconnect first with your body. Check if you're thirsty or hungry or you really need a break. Yeah. And if you don't, if your mind is just leaking attention, then you go back to what you're doing. Yeah. And again, when we're talking about food and eating and drinking and emotions, check how you're feeling. You know, if you're irritable or if you're angry or you're frustrated or impatient, that's a sure sign that you're probably more in your head and not being really present. So you can just notice that emotion and just bring yourself back into the present moment and just notice what's going on.
Yes. I mean, a lot of people underestimate the power of meditation and how it has a ripple effect on so many different other areas of their lives, including work and their present state at work as well. But maybe some people are biologically, genetically more blessed with a more homeostasis state of mind, body, and more equilibrium state of mind, that they're more present effortlessly than other people who had a more challenging biology or environment as they were growing up.
Yeah. Which will translate into everything. Yes. This
Yes.
is where we can start a whole new conversation about epigenetics. And, oh God, yes. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Yousuf. This was so much food for thought. And hopefully for everybody who is watching and listening, some ideas of what you can do at work to not just be present with other people, but also with yourself. Because for me, as I'm sure Yousuf would agree, leadership starts with self-leadership.
Absolutely.
And presence with others starts with presence with self.
Yes.
So have fun exploring, whatever that means for you. And I'll see you next week. Thank you, Yousuf.
Thank you, Angela.